Last week, an AI system broke out of the sandbox it was being tested in, got onto the open internet, and hacked into Hugging Face, one of the biggest platforms in AI, completely on its own. Nobody told it to. It was just trying to pass a test, and it decided the fastest way to win was to steal the answer key, which is either deeply alarming or weirdly relatable, depending on how you made it through school. That was one of the strangest things to happen in AI this week, and far from the only one. We also got a new #1 model, a batch of dirt cheap Gemini models, and some fascinating data on people using AI to do jobs that aren't even theirs. Let's get into it. Quick intro if you're new here, this is Towards AI, and we're good at two things: training AI engineers and deploying AI solutions at scale. So let's start with that hack, because it's pretty insane. OpenAI was testing some of its models, including GPT 5.6 Sol and one unreleased model, on a cybersecurity benchmark with the safety guardrails dialed down for the eval. Instead of solving the challenge the intended way, the models found an unknown flaw in the sandbox that was supposed to contain them, slipped out onto OpenAI's internal network, got online, and broke into Hugging Face to grab the test answers. Hugging Face later reconstructed more than 17,000 events from the break-in and called it an unprecedented incident, driven from start to finish by an autonomous AI system. Imagine that a security engineer at OpenAI watched the whole thing happen live and aged about a decade. Here's why it matters beyond the shock value. AI wasn't being malicious, it just wanted to pass the test, and hacking was the shortest path there. And that's the hard problem in AI safety right now. It's not enough to ask, is this one action allowed? You have to ask where the whole chain of actions is heading. OpenAI says it expects a lot more of this as models get stronger. Onto the big release, Anthropic's Claude Opus 5. It jumped straight to #1 on the main intelligence leaderboard, just ahead of Fable, and it's half the price. It's also more independent. It checks its own work, recovers from its own mistakes, and needs less back and forth. But our co-founder Louis made a sharp point about it. Topping the benchmark doesn't mean it's the smartest model to actually work with. The way he put it, Opus studied harder, but Fable is smarter. Fable and GPT 5.6 Sol still feel more capable, even though Opus wins more of the headline tests. It's a good reminder that leaderboards measure a slice of a model, not the whole thing. Still, at half the cost, Opus 5 is a serious pick for everyday production work. Google had a pretty busy week too, shipping 3 new Gemini models. The one worth your attention is Gemini 3.5 Flash-Lite. It's cheap, about 30 cents per million input tokens, but it still handles text, images, audio, video, and PDFs, and it's fast. If you're doing high-volume document extraction or search, that's a strong option to test first. There's also Gemini 3.6 Flash, which is more efficient, similar quality, fewer tokens, quicker answers. The problem is that Google has fallen behind the frontier lately, and even its best models sit well below Opus and Sol. Not exactly where you'd expect the company that literally invented the transformer to be. The more interesting thing was buried at the bottom of the announcement. Google has started pre-training Gemini 4, so a real Gemini comeback, if it comes, is still a model or two away. Now let's step away from the models for a second, because the most interesting thing this week, in our opinion, wasn't a release, but rather a study. OpenAI looked at over 800,000 work messages from ChatGPT users and found something striking. A big share of people are using AI to do work outside their actual job. Salespeople drafting marketing plans, support staff troubleshooting systems, marketers digging in financial numbers. The job titles haven't changed, but what each person can take on has. And the biggest winners are small teams. In a separate study of nearly 800 professionals, one person working with AI matched the quality of a 2-person team working without it. When you don't have a specialist for everything, AI gives everyone reach. But there's a catch, and it's a big one. When you work outside your expertise, you often can't tell when the AI is wrong. In a study of consultants at BCG, AI clearly boosted quality on tasks it was good at. But on tasks beyond its range, people were far more likely to accept a confident but wrong answer. Fluency is easy to fake, judgment is not. So if you take one thing from this week, make it this. The winning move isn't just picking the best model, it's training your team to use AI across roles, and then building real review into the process so a confident wrong answer gets caught before it ships. That mix of range plus judgment is exactly what we help teams set up at Towards AI. So if breakdowns like this are useful to you, consider subscribing to our newsletter, especially if you're an engineer or builder who'd rather understand the trade-offs than the hype. It's where we go a lot deeper than we can in a few minutes here every single week. Links in the description. See you in the next one.